Royal shock in Dubai. Hamdan finally opens up about the woman he left. The city holds its breath. Towers of glass lean closer, listening to a voice long folded. Inside the ribs of a prince, morning arrives without drums. The desert light is careful. It steps softly on marble, as if afraid to wake memory. He speaks not to the crowd, not to banners or headlines. He speaks to the quiet that learned his name by heart. I was taught to stand straight, to carry the sky of duty, to wear tomorrow like armor, and hide yesterday in silk. Yet there was a woman who walked without shadows. She did not bow to walls. She spoke to me like wind. She saw the boy beneath maps, the runner chasing horizons, the sun counting stars, instead of counting crowns. When I laughed, she stayed. When I fell silent, she waited. She never asked for promise. She only asked for truth. I gave her seasons of distance, letters written in my eyes, meetings brief as dusk, farewells longer than roads. The world watched my footsteps, measured each pause. Every breath was a headline. Every smile became a signal. I learned how silence grows, how it eats the inside of a man, until words feel dangerous, until love feels like exile. She carried my storms calmly, never blaming the sky. She knew the language of patience. She spoke it fluently. But the palace has its gravity. It pulls choices into shape. Duty sharpens its teeth, and time demands obedience. I stood at the edge of decision, with history on one side, and her steady eyes on the other, both asking me to stay. I chose the path of echoes, the one paved with approval, the one that keeps order intact and breaks the softest things. Leaving is not one moment. It is 1,000 small betrayals, each one pretending to be necessary, each one leaving a mark. I left her in a sentence, unfinished inside my chest. I left her in a promise. I never allowed myself to speak. She did not curse my name. She did not call the night unfair. She simply stepped away and took the color with her. Since then, the city shines louder. Gold tries harder to impress. But some rooms stay dim. No matter how many lamps, I walk among celebrations. Yet my heart counts absences. I shake hands with tomorrow, while yesterday watches quietly. People say a ruler must be stone. That feeling makes cracks. They forget stone remembers heat. Long after the fire is gone, I do not ask for forgiveness. I do not rewrite the past. I only place my truth here, like water on open sand. She was not a mistake. She was a mirror, and I was afraid of the reflection that asked me to be free. If she hears this silence, turned finally into breath, know that leaving was not forgetting. It was learning how heavy love can be. The city exhales again. The towers return to their distance, and somewhere beyond the noise, a woman continues to walk in light. After the leaving, the days did not collapse. They simply lost their weight. Time moved thinner. Morning prayer echoed the same, but my chest felt wider, as if something escaped. Without making sound, I learned how absence works. It does not shout. It arranges itself quietly, in ordinary hours. Her name appeared everywhere, in pauses, in unfinished thoughts, in the space between breaths. I rode horses across sand, yet felt no speed. I climbed mountains of decision, yet felt no height. People praised strength. They mistook restraint for peace. They did not hear the argument. Inside my blood, I smiled when expected. I nodded when tradition spoke. My face became a language, trained to lie gently. At night, the city softened. Lights dimmed their ambition, and memory grew bold, walking freely through locked doors. She returned in dreams, not as sorrow, but as calm, asking nothing. She would sit beside silence and look at me patiently, as if waiting for courage to arrive late. I wanted to tell her that love does not disappear. It only changes clothing to survive weather. I wanted to tell her that some choices are prisons, built from respect and guarded by praise. But dreams are honest only briefly. Dawn interrupts truth, and daylight demands performance. From men like me, I stood among councils, discussing futures, while my heart discussed only one past. They say leadership means sacrifice. They rarely say who must be sacrificed. First, I watched young men learn loyalty. I watched elders bless restraint. I watched myself become example while losing witness. She was never part of the plan, yet she became the measure by which all plans failed. To satisfy, every road I chose later felt engineered, safe, predictable. But her path was open ground. No map, no approval, only trust. I left that ground behind to walk polished floors that reflect faces, but not souls. Sometimes the desert speaks at dusk. When wind erases footprints, it tells me nothing truly owned survives. I understand that now. Understand too late that love is not rebellion. It is recognition. If I speak today, it is not to reopen wounds. It is to honor the truth I buried alive. I did not leave because love was weak. I left because it was strong, strong enough to threaten. Everything arranged around me. She deserved a man unafraid to choose daylight over spotlight, honesty over harmony. I could not be that man at that hour, under that weight, and that remains my quiet failure. Do not call her forgotten. Do not call her secret. Call her the lesson that continues teaching. Every choice since then answers her question without her asking. Am I free? The answer changes slowly, with years, with responsibility, with regret learning humility. If she ever wonders whether she mattered, know this: she became the silence that finally taught me to speak. The city listens again, not to scandal, but to consequence, not to shock, but to truth. And I stand here unfinished, not seeking sympathy, only releasing a story that refused to stay silent. Time has a different voice now. It no longer rushes me. It waits, as if it knows I am listening. Years have folded into wisdom, not the loud kind, but the quiet weight that settles behind the eyes. I walk slower through decisions. I touch each choice as if it might bruise something unseen. The world still calls my name, with expectation, with ceremony, with carefully shaped praise. Yet inside, another name lives, not spoken, but understood. It lives in restraint, in pauses before command, in mercy learned too late, but practiced daily. I used to believe power was distance, that elevation required separation, that love weakened structure, and silence kept order. Now I know order without truth is only stillness pretending to breathe, and silence can be the loudest wound. She taught me without staying. She taught me by leaving intact. She refused bitterness, and left dignity in its place. That choice reshaped me more than any counsel, more than any oath, more than any crown. I learned that loss is not emptiness. It is presence transformed, a hand no longer held, still guiding direction. When I speak to the young, I tell them strength is honesty, that fear often dresses as duty, and courage arrives quietly. I do not name her. I do not need to. Truth recognizes itself without introduction. Some nights the city sleeps early, and the desert breathes freely. Stars scatter like witnesses that remember everything. In those hours, I released the version of myself that needed permission to feel and forgive him. He did the best he could, with the tools he was given, with the weight he inherited, with the time that cornered him. Forgiveness is not forgetting. It is understanding shape, how men are carved. By expectation, if this story reaches her, let it carry no burden, no request, no return. Let it be light, like the way she walked away, without turning, without damage. She was never left behind. She moved ahead, and I remained, learning slowly. That is the truth people miss. Leaving does not end a bond. It only changes who must grow, and how. I do not ask the city to judge or to soften its gaze. Judgment has already passed. Inside me, I speak now because silence has completed its work. It has shaped humility, where pride once lived. The man I am becoming owes something to her courage, and something to my regret. Both teachers. When history writes me, let it write complexity, not myth, not scandal. Let it say, he learned late, but he learned deeply, and he honored the lesson. The woman I left was not a chapter. She was a turning. And turnings do not end stories. They redirect them. So this is where I stand, not absolved, not broken, but aware, and awareness is the beginning of a truer rule over oneself. The city returns to motion. News dissolves into routine. But somewhere within these words, a truth settles. Not all love is meant to stay. Some love is meant to wake us, and then walk on, complete. I remain here, awake, finally, and changed.